Some of the big insights that we've got from neuroscience in the last sort of 10, 15 years, one of the first things to really stand out is that the first 3 years are the most important. Not just because babies are precious and pure and fragile, I mean, that's reason enough, but the first 3 years are the most important essentially because the human brain is not ready to be born until we're 3 years old. Right, that makes us very, very different from every other animal on the planet because, a horse gets up and walks immediately after it's born, right? A human being, takes 12 months to learn to walk. Does that mean a horse is cleverer than a human being? No, it just means that they follow different pathways. The human brain is different from every other animal on the planet. Your heart, your lungs, your liver, all your other organs when your baby's born are doing the job they're going to do for the rest of the baby's life. All they're going to do is get larger. The same is true of an animal's brain. It's doing the job it's going to do for the rest of its life. The human brain is different because we don't reach that stage of maturity until we're 3. So that's a huge gift for human beings. It means we have the first 3 years to gather data on what sort of brain we need for our lifetime. So we're not just based on genetics. Actually, only 30% of our genes are set when we're born. 70% of our genes are what are called transcription genes. So they rely on a transcript from the environment before they decide which genes are activated and which ones aren't. So our brains, another example is our brain's only 15% connected when you're born. So 85% of the connections are going to happen outside of the womb. I mean, even when we look to the mass of a young baby, your baby's brain's somewhere around 25% of an adult size when the baby's born, and yet it's about 95% of an adult size by the time you're 4. So we're seeing lots of growth happening. The early years are really profound. There's 2 major reasons why the human brain's not fully formed when we're born, right? One is just survival of the mother, because if the baby's brain, they'd have to have a head the size of a 3-year-old, and mum wouldn't survive childbirth. And if she did, there'd be no such thing as siblings, because her'd do it again. But the major reason why human beings don't have a fully formed brain at birth is because it allows us to adapt to our environment like no other creature can. It means we can live on any part of the planet, and we're not bound to the environments we're born in, because we spend 3 years data gathering on the environment we're in. And then we sort of hardwire a brain for a lifetime full of it. So in that way, the first 3 years are the most important education you'll ever get in your whole life. There's the first 3 years where human beings have the ability to impact on the potential of that human being. No time is greater than in the first 3 years. That's only a tragedy in New Zealand because, again, we have this cultural belief that the first 3 years don't matter. We will sell our houses and shift into whole different suburbs to get to the right high school because we think high school is really important, but we'll just go to the closest early childhood centre or, but whereas what the research tells us is all of your capabilities are really set by the time you're 3. There's Harvard University studies, there's lots of studies supporting this sort of information, but there's one I can think of specifically, Harvard University postgraduate school. They talked about how they could predict what income your child will be on when they're 35 because they're able to predict what level of qualification the child will have by the time they're 35 based on nothing else other than the number of words spoken to that baby per day between the ages of 0 and 1. Right? Now that's fairly profound, and that's because the brain is in this crucial data gathering mode in the first 3 years. It's spending 3 years gathering data. And basically the baby that is spoken to a whole lot is gathering data that, wow, this is a very complex world, isn't it? Like, I'm having to do this relationship thing all the time. Remember at the start I said when you interact or when you're in relationship, you use more of your brain than when you're doing things by yourself. So the baby being spoken to a whole lot is engaging all these interactive parts of their brain.
Does that mean using baby talk or any words even to an adult level?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's about holding the baby in relationship. You can be talking gobbledygook if you want, as long as your baby's eyes are connecting with your eyes and you are both enjoying the interaction and it's responsive. It's that responsive thing that really makes for quality interaction. So you following the baby's lead, the baby pokes out their tongue and you poke the tongue back out at them and they're like, oh, she's copying me. It's just that interaction. Obviously you want to surround them with, baby talk's easier for them to hear because it's at a higher pitch and babies' ears aren't fully developed, so they hear those higher sounds much easier. That's why we all naturally go like this when we go to talk to the baby, because they can hear that much easier. But really it's just about interacting with your baby and holding your baby. The baby that spends the first 3 years plonked down in front of the TV, which remember is not engaging the interactive parts of the brain, even when Cookie Monster's pretending to be interactive. And do you know what letter this is? That's right. It's the child may look like they believe they're interacting with the Cookie Monster, but if we had them hooked up to a brain scan, we'd see that it's not it's not engaging the interactive parts of their brain. Television doesn't. So yeah, the child that's not getting many words a day spoken to by a person, their brain's getting the message that it's not a very complex world, because about the most complex thing you do is interact with other people. I don't want people to get the message from that they should hold their baby in front of them and interact constantly all day when the baby's clearly sick of it. You've got to pick up on the babies, Yeah, but it is generally the baby that's held in relationship more and interacted with more is the child that will get the message to grow a nice big healthy frontal cortex.